following thoughts, opinions, stories, and expressions are meant for those who will appreciate them. If you don't, we hope you keep an open soul to encounter another here on 34 Questions. Peace. In 3, 2, 1. What's going on, folks? Welcome to 34 Questions. I'm your host, 34, and tonight I have a very special guest. Ashley Langham is in the building. How you doing tonight, Ashley?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks. How are you?
Doing great. Want to thank you again for stopping by. I definitely appreciate your time and your openness to share your story. For the folks out there who are unfamiliar with the flow of the show, we do some intro questions, some warm-up questions just to set the tone. After that, we'll turn to some icebreakers just to play a couple games. After that, we will turn to the Wheel of Fate, where we'll spin the wheel, whichever number it lands on. That's how the conversation will roll. And after that, we'll finish it off with some closeout questions. Sound good to you, Ashley?
Yeah, sounds great.
All right. So my very first question for you is, how have you been doing lately? You've been doing great. You've been doing well. How you been?
Yeah, I've been doing great. I mean, a lot of things are changing in my life for the better, so I'm excited about that. And yeah, just self-improving.
I hear you. Could you speak on maybe one of those changes that you're making?
Yeah, so I recently started working for a retreat center out in Sedona as their copywriter. And I'm balancing that with my other content writing work as well as my spiritual wellness work. So a lot is going on, but all good things.
I got you. Congratulations on the new job.
Thank you.
I've definitely taken that step many times in my life. So hopefully, you feel at home and are able to, further your career.
Yeah, definitely.
What were you doing before this, if you don't mind me asking?
So I was mainly just doing sort of client work, working for a marketing agency as their contract freelance writers. And I was a yoga instructor, and I was still doing sort of spiritual wellness, energy healing, and tarot reading. And now I'm more busy with this new job as well.
Gotcha. So it's not like you've stopped all those other things. It's just you've added this new job into that.
Yeah, I have stopped for the time being teaching yoga right now because I'm kind of looking at moving. So once I get to my new place, then I can think about teaching yoga again.
For sure. My second question for you in the warm-up is, what would you like the audience to know about you?
Just that I am a content writer and spiritual wellness healer, and I really truly believe in oneness, the connectivity between the mind, the body, and the soul in everything I do with my work and my spiritual wellness. I literally had such a change. Like, I used to be a compliance officer for an investment bank, and I did that for 5 years, and I was living overseas in Europe and also in Sydney, Australia. But I have come home to America for the time being and completely changed my life. And I truly believe that you can live a life of your desires. It might take some work, but you can do it.
For sure. You spoke about the oneness. What kind of got you to that perspective, and how long have you had that? Was it, go for it.
It's taken 6 years of spiritual awakening and lots of therapy to get to a state of oneness. I'm still on the journey. I wouldn't say I'm completely there, but I truly believe in sort of connecting within. And I've done a lot of work around that, as well as really sort of finding a place of unconditional love within as well.
I gotcha. I'm sure we'll dive more into that as the interview goes on. But my third question for you in the warm-up is, if I were to do something in your honor, a way to express the energy you possess, what could I do for you?
I mean, just live a life of ease. That's sort of what I'm trying to accomplish, and be able, through my spiritual journey, teach other people to get to that state of oneness, to get to that state of ease as well.
I got you. Now we know. And
Yeah.
and my last question for you in the warm up is, on a scale from 1 to 10, how well do you know yourself?
10.
Well, what got you to the 10?
A lot of inner work. Yeah, it's been a journey, but I feel like I've always been pretty self-aware, even when I was sort of in the corporate space, when I didn't know so much about the healing aspect. I always had this level of self-awareness, but I think around the age of 27, I was like, hold up, maybe I'm not the person who I thought I was entirely. And I had to uncover some of those limiting beliefs, and I had to uncover some of the things that I didn't like about myself and confront that.
I feel you, man. 10 is strong though. There's no more mystery for you, or is it just? Would you say where you are in life right now feels like you know yourself the most?
Yeah, I will say that.
I got you.
Definitely.
What would you say is your favorite thing about your personality?
I have several, but my honesty, honesty with myself, honesty with other people, I really admire.
And would you say you were born with that, or was that something you grew into?
Oh, I was born with that. I was so honest as a kid that I remember at the age of 5, I was asking this lady, like, I don't want to fat shame now. I know this now. Like, I asked this lady, like, are you pregnant? And my parents had to be like, girl, she's just a little bit bigger, you know? So I've always had that, even for better or for worse, but I've always been honest.
I got you. Um, I'm always, I admire folks who can be honest. I think for me, I'm a nice guy, or I think I'm a nice guy. So I end up tiptoeing a lot around, moments where I think the truth needs to be said, you know? Or if someone who like me, who struggles with that, what kind of advice could you give me for, just maybe being able to speak my mind and tell my truth about, either a situation or conflict?
I mean, definitely, like, it's important to be honest, but it's also important to think before you say things so you don't offend somebody. But I think in moments where you think, oh, honesty is not required, it definitely is. I feel like more people appreciate you being honest, even though it's not like the nicest thing, than you just straight up like trying to be nice, because eventually that niceness is going to seem cruel if you're just kind of lying to someone about how you truly feel. So I think honesty is always the best policy if you have that in your mind, and just do it with tact. I think people appreciate it.
For sure, for sure. That's definitely something I'm still working on. I don't know. I need to like do one of those exercises where I need to speak my mind 30 days in a row, just so I could get used to that feeling and make it a change in my life. Maybe one of these days I'll give it a shot. All right. Well, we made it to the icebreaker portion. But before we do that, for all the folks out there who are listening, if you are enjoying the content, please like if you might, share if you care, subscribe for a vibe you didn't know was there. And then let's head on over to the icebreakers. This first one is it's called The Point of View until I figure out a better name for it. But I'm going to give you a statement, and then you give me your point of view on the statement, whether you agree or disagree, think it's true or false. This first one is, overthinking is a bad thing. What's your stance on that?
I don't know if it's a bad or good thing. It's definitely not like entirely good to overthink all the time, but sometimes it's good to overthink, especially at work.
Can you dive into that a little bit more? Like, at work, how is overthinking a good thing?
Particularly for what I do, a lot of it is creative, and you don't want to go with your first inclination, because your first inclination could not be the most creative, could not be the most interesting. You might want to overthink, like, is this the best article to write, or is this the best point of view to have? So I think overthinking could be good sometimes.
For sure. And on the flip side, how do you think it can be hurtful to be overthinking?
It can lead to anxiety. You're overthinking too much, you can't even take an action.
Yeah, I feel you on that. I think that's how it normally comes up in my life. I consider myself an overthinker, and yeah, it takes me a long time to get get started on things and projects, and you know, for me, I had to get over that fact of like I can't make everything perfect. I just have to give it a shot, see where it goes, and do better the next time. But I know a lot of, at least in the past for me, that's what would hold me back is I create something and I don't want to share it because I keep telling myself it can be better and better, and that's how overthinking for me has been a bad thing. But I am on the team of embracing it for myself.
Yeah.
And my second statement for you is it's better to ask for forgiveness than permission.
Sometimes. Sometimes you need permission. You haven't even gotten to the forgiveness portion. So like sometimes it's good to, ask for permission, whether, you can give your point of view, or you can talk to someone about something, or you can do something with someone else, so that's important. But yeah, forgiveness is also a very important thing as well to have and to hold.
I got you. And for you don't have to get into too many specifics, but when do you feel like it's better to risk at just going for the forgiveness rather than asking for permission?
Sometimes you just have to make a choice when you're dealing with people, especially like, again, on creative fields. Sometimes you just have to kind of push the button. Like if you're posting something on social media, sometimes you just have to be kind of brash because those things get picked up the most on social media. And then you can forgive later after it, because if you want to make a statement, especially about the things that are going on right now politically, you kind of just need to push the button and hope people don't hate you too much afterwards.
No, I got you. That's definitely something that crosses my mind all the time. And, one way for me to combat it is, if I can stay rooted in my purpose and, my intention behind it. Because I feel like that's how people get that anxiety, or they start feeling like they can't say what they want. And I know this because that's who I am now, and I'm trying to get better at it. But yeah, staying rooted in my purpose probably helps me the most when it comes to these kind of situations.
Yeah, I love that.
Thank you. And we're going to move on to our second icebreaker, which is a word association activity. I'm going to throw you a word. You give me the first word or thought that comes to you. And you'll have 34 seconds to do as many as you can. And the record, I'll tell you now, is 12 so far on the show. All right, here we go. I'm going to pull up the countdown. In 3, 2, 1. Love.
Myself.
People.
Connection.
Pain.
Avoid.
Regret.
Avoid.
Crazy.
Sometimes.
Fear.
All the time.
Happiness.
Joy.
Food.
Need some now?
Life.
Wonderful.
Hope. Ooh. What was that last one for hope?
Wish? I don't know.
Wish. I got you. No pressure. Thank you for participating. You had mentioned a couple things I want to dig a little deeper on. Pain and regret, I believe you said avoid both. Is it truly possible to avoid those things?
Regret, I think, is definitely possible to avoid. I've never regretted anything in my life. I might have done things that I'm not too proud of or done stupid shit, but like, sorry if I can curse.
No, you can.
Uh,
You can definitely curse.
Okay. But yeah, I try to avoid regretting anything because it's always a lesson. But pain, I mean, I've had it, but I try to avoid it as well. That's probably not good to do to avoid
I
pain.
feel, I feel you. I feel you. I mean, one of the things for myself right now is regret definitely, I guess you would say one of my motivating factors. I know it's not the best thing, but it is something I think is true for me right now until I can work out those issues. So yeah, I mean, as far as avoiding them, I'm staring them right in the face every day.
I mean, that's the best way to do that instead of bypassing to emotion.
Oh, for sure, for sure. And then you also said fear, and I believe you said always. Well, what did you mean by that?
I have anxiety. I struggle with anxiety, and I think fear kind of has always kind of ruled my life. It has made decisions for me to be safe. That's why I kind of went into banking, and then I feared becoming an entrepreneur. I feared working for myself, but that kind of drove me as well. So fear is a constant, but it also is a huge motivator for me. I kind of want to switch that right now and focus on love being a huge motivator, but I can't deny that fear is a huge motivator for me.
I got you. I mean, I think all the I don't want to call them negative, but that set of emotions of fear, regret are big motivators in everyone's lives. And it's interesting how as much as we try to let go or forget, it seems to always be around, or it follows us.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we made it to the Wheel of Fate portion, so bring you back over to the main stage. I don't know if you can really see the changes I'm making on the screen from your end, but I hope it's not too distracting. All right, that's good. All right, so pulling up the wheel, gonna give it a spin, and just as a reminder, if there's any question that's too deep or something you don't want to talk about, feel free to pass. There's no pressure.
Okay.
First number is number 12. This question starting off heavy. When was the last time you cried and why?
Last time I cried, I probably cried last week, to be honest. I don't remember why. It's probably something that I was trying to uncover on a spiritual level.
I got you. Is it easy for you to cry, or is it something you fight back against?
I used to have a lot of trouble crying, particularly in front of people, because I thought it was weak, because I had a terrible upbringing with one of my parents who told me it was weak to cry in front of people. But now I don't mind it. I cry all the time.
I got you.
Oh, I do remember why I cried. I cried because I was watching Stranger Things, the finale.
Oh, I got you. Was it like a noteworthy moment that made you cry, or?
I think someone died in there.
Okay, no spoilers. I got you. Actually, I was gonna ask if you had any soft spots for that, like in media. I know for me, movies guaranteed to make me cry if it's one of those kind of movies. And I still have a hard time crying today, just because I don't know. I feel like the faces that I make when I'm crying, it would make me laugh if I saw myself crying, which is kind of bad to say, because then it really discourages me from doing it. But if someone was going to take a picture of me while I'm crying, that would make me crack up, I think.
Cry of embarrassment.
Exactly. Besides Stranger Things, what would you say is maybe a moment in television or TV or television or movies that never fails to make you feel something or hits you different?
I think when men cry in television, it really makes me cry because men don't often get portrayed to show emotion. So when they do show emotion, which is kind of patriarchal in a way, because it's like, oh, it's meaningful when a man cries, not meaningful when a woman cries because she's always crying. But unfortunately, I have probably have a little bit of internalized patriarchy, so it makes me cry.
No, I got you. I mean, I think for me, it's any moment where like any crying in a movie probably makes me cry, whether it's man, woman, or child. But as far as seeing a man cry, man, I've only seen my father cry like a couple times in my life, and I know that made me instantly cry because you just don't never see it, right? And it's just it's bananas because I don't know, like for me, they try so hard to be strong all the time, especially to their kids. And yeah, seeing them be vulnerable, it's like, oh shit, like, you know. And I think it's a great bonding moment for any child and parent if they have that kind of moment. But yeah, for sure. Sorry, I'm getting all swept up into it.
No, I totally agree. Like, I've seen my mom cry maybe a couple of times, and I think it's just her generation. Like, they didn't really show weakness, or not even weakness, vulnerability. And when I see her cry, I'm like instantly sad because I know something's really wrong that's making her sad.
I got you. And then, so you mentioned like your mom, that was your mom's generation. How about our generation and the future generations? Do you see a little change in that as far as their openness to being vulnerable, or is it pretty staying the same pretty much?
I think our generation has changed a lot. I know one of my girlfriends, she has 4 kids, and tells me what she does with her kids to be open and be more vulnerable and to talk through things with her kids. And I don't have too many friends who have kids yet, but like, to me, that shows a huge leap from like the boomers who want to seem quote unquote strong all the time.
I got you. When it first came to like opening up and talking about feelings, I don't think I ever had that talk with my parents or any adults. For you, was there any kind of guidance, or maybe doesn't necessarily have to be your parents, but maybe a teacher or something that kind of gave you this idea of being, with the oneness?
I think several teachers, I mean, like theta healing teachers, therapy has kind of, because I had an existential therapist, which was kind of cool, have really opened me up to a state of oneness. But my parents don't believe in any of that. They're very wrapped in polarity. Which is like good versus bad kind of things. They're very I would say my mom's a little bit more spiritual, so she kind of follows like Taoism a little bit, maybe Zen Buddhism, but she's not fully integrated in that. So I think when I talk to her, she's kind of like, it kind of goes over her head a little bit, but she understands some of what I'm talking about, or, can resonate with some of it. But it's mainly my healer friends or healer practitioners that I work with, or even therapists.
I got you. You mentioned existential therapist. I'm kind of curious what that means because I don't think I've ever heard that before.
She was amazing. Like, she really made me think that I have a bigger purpose in this world, so I should stop kind of worrying about the day-to-day worries, because I had such bad anxiety that I was just struggling to cope with regular life. So she kind of brought existentialism. One of the best books she recommended was Viktor Frankl's Man's Search for Meaning, who is an existential psychologist who was going through the Holocaust. And he thought, my purpose is not being a prisoner of war. My purpose is to be a therapist. So I need to look at the bigger picture and stop looking at the day-to-day in this labor camp, he was in Auschwitz. So from that, like reading that book and working with her kind of changed my life.
I got you. That, I think a good 20% of my life is about existentialism, as far as thinking about it and wondering, why we're here and what's the meaning behind all this. In your own words, maybe it's just for yourself, but why are we here, in your mind?
I think to love and to connect as human beings and to work together as a collective to better our fate on this earth.
And do you think that that's achievable, as far as having everybody on the same page, or at least giving more love than hate?
I think it is. I think I see a lot, like all of my friends, I see a lot of people moving into this belief that we need to work together as a collective, that we need to bring more love than hate into this world. Now, we do have, everything on the news and the media that's telling everyone to be divisive, to hate one another because of arbitrary identity factors. But I think like millennials, definitely Gen Z, a lot more of us are looking at, okay, how do we bring more love? And a lot more of us are working and having higher purposes within the collective. And I think it is achievable. I just think we haven't done it yet. And so people are like, oh, well, we are not going to do it. But it's like, we haven't landed on the moon, back in like 300 BC, but we did it in 1969. So it's capable to evolve as human beings. So if we all can focus on evolution, then I think it's achievable.
I got you. Yeah, just because it hasn't been done doesn't mean it's not possible, right?
Yeah.
I feel you. I mean, I think there is that change in society that's happening, and I'm just wondering what it's gonna take to get there. Like, we don't need to get into politics, but for me, that's one of those things where if it's gonna change, it's gonna need this mass movement from the people, right? It's not gonna take the leaders that are in office, but it's gonna come from us. So I'm excited to see what that leads us into, and I hope we see it in our lifetimes. Sometimes I think changes like this is going to take a lot longer than we think or hope for. So fingers crossed. Hopefully we get to see this. But I think it's going to start with people, like yourself, that are planting the seeds, and hopefully kids could just be like people 10 years younger than us, picking it up, and then the next 10 picking it up afterwards. Would you say you believe that, or I'm not going to put words in your mouth, but do you think people are ultimately good?
I've struggled with this question because originally when I was younger, I thought people were ultimately good. And then I hit adulthood and had to live overseas on my own, and it was like, damn, these people suck. But then now I'm back to, I think people are ultimately thinking of their best interests at heart. Now, I wouldn't necessarily call them selfish, but it is, I guess, self-preservating. And I think if we took out all the noise of isms and schisms, I think people have more in common than not. And they are, if you talk to them where they are, they're more willing to do the right thing. Like, I don't think we are a bunch of like robbers and killers and everything like that. I think people genuinely want to do the right thing. So does that make them inherently good? I guess so. I think that just makes them inherently who they are. I don't want to say good versus bad. They just are who they are. So you have to connect to people where they are so that we can bring more good into this world.
I hear you. And no, I'm with you too. I definitely stand on that, on the hill of the good and evil part. I'm definitely starting to stay away from defining things in that way, right? Because there's a lot of different ways you can look at the situation, look at a person, look at their actions. So it's like, when people steal, if they're providing for other people, it's like, I think that's a good thing. Right?
Or if they're starving, they kind of need to steal some food.
Yeah, like why do they have to steal in the first place? Like, we need to be reflecting on kind of on that side of things. All right, We're gonna give the wheel another spin. Here we go. Number 14. This question is, how could you be kinder to yourself?
I think I'm a bit of a perfectionist, and I'm working at not being so negative in my self-talk.
Hmm. Do you feel like I know for myself, the negative talk can get me in a dark place, like 0 to 100, right? It does it move that fast for you, or is it like this gradual negative self-talk that grows over time versus hitting you real hard all at once?
I think it's gradual. I don't think like it goes from "you're doing fine, I hate you" kind of thing, but it's more like, "Oh man, you're stupid for this." I don't need to say that about myself, even if I make a mistake.
I gotcha. In the same kind of realm, how have you been your best friend?
I have a extreme level of dedication to self-growth, and I think that has really helped me be the best version of myself, that I'm always, my best advocate. Even when I've been in very, very dark places, I've always been like, okay, Ashley, you can sit in this for 2 days. I'll even give you 3, but we need to get back to where we need to get. And I give myself the time to like kind of figure my shit out and then like come back to, okay, we have to improve. We have to get things together. Which I think is the greatest motivator for me.
I got you. Would you say, so what do you think of my I guess my personal priority in life, and if I was going to be selfish and selfless at the same time, I try to do everything in this idea of balance. That if whether like good or bad, I think everything's gonna happen in balance. So for you, 1, do you feel like you're in balance now? And 2, how do you maintain that balance?
I think I'm more in balance, more in what I call homeostasis, which is like just neutrality. I think when I'm in neutrality, I am balanced. How I get to that is I meditate, I do yoga, I work out, I get sleep, I eat well, like a lot of it. I take rest when I need rest, or I go out and have fun if that's what I need. I just give myself what I need in that moment.
For sure. And has there ever been a time where you felt unbalanced, and what did that kind of look like for you?
I mean, for 32 years of my life, and I'm 32 now, I've been out of balance. I'm just getting in balance, and that has taken a lot of work. But before, I was just not giving myself what I need. I listened to other people entirely to make a lot of my decisions, or I people please to make a lot of my decisions. Even now, I'm still kind of working through that and to kind of pull myself back from doing that. But yeah, putting other people's needs ahead of my own is this first thing to get me out of balance.
Got you. And I'm 32 myself. As far as finding balance, I think it took me the same amount of time. I don't know what it is about our 30s, but things change a lot. At least the chemicals in our brain, maybe our development and growth as human beings. But for you, how are your 20s different from your 30s, if you don't mind me asking?
Oh my God. Like heaps different. Oh my God. So my 20s, I spent most of my time outside the country. I'll probably do that again at some point. But it was really about prioritizing other people's needs ahead of my own. I mean, being with people that I had no business being with, because they liked me rather than me assessing whether I even liked them.
Mm.
I drank heaps. I've stopped drinking, have stopped drinking for the last like almost a year now. Um, and I just didn't have any like, I don't know, like I didn't like I knew who I was, but I didn't know who I was. I think every 20-year-old thinks that like, oh, I know myself. But it's like then you're uncovering parts and you're just like, oh shit, am I the asshole? Like so yeah, it's totally changed.
I got you. I got you. No, I mean, yeah, my 20s, deep contrast. There's still vices I haven't let go of, you could say. Still working on that. But yeah, it's something about like, starting to take things more seriously. And I guess being more rooted, kind of knowing what I like versus what I dislike, and not being afraid to start saying no to the things I really don't want anything to do with. Congratulations on being able to swerve or curve the alcohol. I'm not a big drinker, but I always get swept up in some kind of peer pressure, some kind of people tell me, oh, just take one, and then I end up kind of regretting it, just feeling, I don't know, it makes me feel hot, doesn't make me feel like enjoying my time. I end up falling asleep. But they always get me though. Excuse me for a second, I have to take this call that I just got.
Yeah, no worries.
All right, second. All right, sorry about that, Ashley.
No worries.
My partner hits me up while I do podcasting, and I get anxious too. I'm just like, I gotta say something back or else. But yeah. All right. Let's give the wheel another spin. See where we land. Number 32, I believe. Yep. This next question is, what is your proudest moment?
I think very recently, the way my career is going, from what I said because I quit my job during the end of the pandemic, my corporate job during the end of the pandemic, and I was just like, I'm going to write and practice spirituality, and my focus is going to be on sort of diversity, equity, inclusion, spirituality, and how to bridge like inclusivity in both those spaces, and in writing for brands. And now I'm actually doing that, like focusing on those areas, and to be able to make my own schedule, work remotely, and design my life exactly, or at least my work around exactly what I want, is just the biggest achievement that I've ever experienced. I mean, like I graduated from law school and have a master's degree, and that does not go in comparison to being able to design my life exactly how I want.
Damn, he's a master's in law degree.
Yes. Yeah.
For some mad props, mad respect for that. And but even more respect for being able to build this life that you visualize and are achieving for yourself. But for you, what does, I guess, where do you want this to lead you to? Where you are now versus, I guess, the next upcoming years. Where would you like to be at?
Well, I would like to be back in Europe doing what I'm doing now, and living there full time. That's probably the biggest change. And then settling over there, it's a bit complicated, it takes some time, but like to be able to settle over there and do what I'm doing now, online, and then also to grow my spiritual business. I don't know which direction I want to take it just quite yet. I know that I don't want to just do one-to-one clients. I want to do kind of events, retreats, talks, and then maybe write a book. I don't know.
I got you. I mean, you got to shoot for the stars, right? And,
yeah.
But a book is definitely, I think, everyone should try to do at least at one point. I know everyone would have their own idea behind what the book would be about, but just getting your thoughts down on paper, there's some kind of therapy to it too.
Yeah.
So if anyone out there can challenge themselves to complete a book, I think you'd either learn more about yourself, or grow in a way that you couldn't have imagined. Um,
Yeah.
and you speak about living in Europe. How long were you out there for? Mind me asking.
I was living in London for on and off for 6 years, but pretty much all throughout my 20s, and in France for 2.5 months.
Gotcha. And what would you say is the biggest difference as far as in culture that you see from living here in the States versus out there in Europe?
um, just living a life with the standard of living, like our quality of life. I think the United States, because it's hyper individualistic, is like, oh, if you work hard, you get, but the government doesn't really provide for people to like be supported. Whereas like the government provides for people to be supported in Europe. There's like a standard of living. And then, of course, you do work and you might get a better one. But there's a standard and quality of life that I don't see in the United States.
I got you. Yeah, I mean, I wonder. Well, I don't wonder. I think I know what led America to get into this hyper individualistic, mindset. But with your experiences in Europe, what was like maybe one thing, if you could pick out a specific thing that kind of just surprised you? And I was like, why don't we do that in America?
Medical care.
Mm. Was it easy for you when you got out there just to sign up and they kind of took care of you? Is that easy?
It's not that easy for Americans, particularly in the UK. Like, you have to. Well, I was sponsored with a job, so my work paid for my visa, which also paid for money to go towards the medical system there. Plus, I had private health insurance, but the NHS, like, also as a student, I was out there too because I went to law school out there, and that was pretty easy to sign up. Like, I was a student. Now I think they changed the rules where you have to contribute some money to the NHS even with a student visa, but it's like £200 per year per your visa length. So say I was staying out there for 5 years, then it would be £1,000 with the visa, but like £1,000 for 5 years you can get surgery, you can break a leg, and you can get pregnant, and they will pay for it. It's pretty darn good. Plus you pay your taxes, but the tax rate is so small within your full taxes of what medical care is. They should just do that here.
So it's £5,000 or £1,000 for 5 years?
For 5 years for the length of the visa, that's what you have to contribute to it. But also you pay your taxes, and that a percentage of your taxes goes towards the NHS.
No, but you're right though. I'd rather pay like a big upfront large sum in the beginning to cover me for years.
Yeah.
I know here in America it's they have that whole thing. I forgot what was the term for it, but we're very highly dependent on the job that we have to provide healthcare. And it's scary out there. I've had 17 jobs in like 10 years, actually. Oh, wow. So yeah, I've jumped around, and I felt the different insurances, like the ones that cover pretty good, the ones that are kind of on the cheaper end, and how much of a headache everything becomes if you don't have good insurance. It's like, do you even really want to help me? Like,
and you still have to pay like a portion. Like if I broke the bone in the UK, I don't pay for any of that, not even the ambulance. Like it comes out of my taxes. Whereas here, like if you broke a bone, you're getting a bill. That sucks.
Let me ask you this, Ashley. This is something I'm trying to speak into existence. And maybe, if there's any investors out there, we can make it happen. But since everyone, I think in America, can agree that it sucks to have to pay an ambulance, I think minimum $3,000 or $5,000 for a trip to the emergency room. I want to raise funds and be able to offer the ambulance service for free I guess, maybe start in smaller cities and bring but I think since we can all agree that sucks, I can get the donations to make it happen and then just change the game with that. You think that can happen, or you think that I'm dreaming too big there?
No, I think that could definitely happen. I mean, you can make Uber for ambulances.
No, an alternative, because the fact that if I get in an accident and I'm hesitant to call anyone for help because I know the first thing is an ambulance is gonna be there. I'm like, nah, like don't even show up. Yeah. But yeah, so we'll see. Fingers crossed. If you're out there listening and like the idea, let's make it happen. Let's move on to the next spin. Number 11, and this question is, what would you say is something you're currently struggling with, and is there any support that you feel like you need?
I'm currently struggling with really tapping into the divine feminine, and this might sound a bit woo-woo, but basically divine feminine energy is all about sort of allowing, accepting, surrendering. The divine masculine or masculine energy is more doing, initiating, driving results. And I feel like I'm so used to like driving results because I've been in a very masculine type of career in banking, that it feels weird when I'm going into a state of ease or surrendering or allowing things to take shape, which is great for manifesting. I think it's just supporting myself is by doing the actual thing that I'm trying to accomplish, which is, just allowing things to take shape. I tend to like obsess about like the future. So I've just been trying to like meditate and not really think too much about and detaching and doing sort of detaching meditations so I can stop obsessing about the future and driving results for the future and just be in the here and now.
I got you. Yeah, the idea of the divine feminine, what were the three things you said again? It was accepting, surrendering,
and allowing.
Gotcha. Sorry, I had to reflect on it. I had to chew on it a little bit more. I don't know what those three words might mean for me as I try to like incorporate it into my life a little bit more. Because when you said the other one, the masculine, divine, is it divine masculine? Yeah, the getting results done or getting things, finding solutions and trying to fix things all the time, I think is my default, and that's all I've really been focused on in my life. So yeah, when I re-listen to this, probably gonna have more time to dive into it more. But for anyone that might be wanting to work on their divine feminine, what's like a good thought process, would you say? Or like, where should I start?
Start by grounding your energy. So by really connecting to Mother Earth. Either you can do that by simply walking outside, on green grass, barefoot, or you can just sit and cross-legged and feel your energy kind of root down into your root chakra or into the base of your spine and connect your body and feel your body connecting to wherever you're sitting, whether it's the floor or your bed or whatever. And just kind of allow your energy. Don't really think about too many things. Just sort of try to be in the here and now and be present and feel embodied. Because the more that you're tapping into your body, particularly your heart, particularly the lower chakras, and by chakras, I mean energy points within the body, it's easier to connect to the divine feminine, because the divine feminine is all about being rather than doing.
Got you. I haven't dove too much into the chakras, but I see it all the time. I guess I see it all the time on social media, right? They they have the postings, and I don't know, I haven't exposed myself to that information yet, or really taken the time to ingest it. But for you, I guess, what's your most important, or which chakra do you feel like is the most important to focus on? If I might be saying the wrong thing, but is there a chakra that's most important to you?
I think all of them really are important. The 7 main ones. But for me, I think because for so long I have not felt really embodied. I felt like I didn't really belong on this earth, because I was always trying to like leave. I think the root chakra is probably very important to me to feel stable. And the reason why I say that is because I grew up as a military brat, and I was moving around constantly, and that kind of made me feel displaced, because I've never felt like America was the country for me. And I was always constantly moving, even in the United States as a kid. So I was kind of like, I wasn't really here. I was like always like, okay, what's the next thing? What's the next place? So for me, the root chakra is important, and also my heart chakra, because I'm trying to be more emotionally driven, more heart opening, more focused on love.
For sure. Just kind of curious. I didn't know about the, being in part of the military family, but how often or how many times have you moved, and like maybe different places that you could just give me a number, if it's, 10s, 20s, or yeah, how many places have you been to?
I've been to 4 places as a kid, but within those 4 places, we probably moved, well, definitely 2 of them, we moved 2 or 3 times within those places. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if you feel like that experience was unique, or at the time maybe feeling like this is a normal thing, but I can imagine it must have been tough to move so many times, and having to unroot, reroute, or maybe learn not to get rooted at all because you've done it too many times.
It's definitely the latter. Like, I just learned to like kind of go with the flow. It was exciting. I love traveling, and it's still, part of my ethos now, but it's so disassociating and displacing when I was constantly like having to move, having to make new friends, having to go to new schools. I don't think I realized it as a kid, because I was like, oh, it's fun. Like, after 4 years, I'm going to leave anyway, so I don't care. But like now it's like, I don't know where my home is. And that's part of probably being a military brat.
I hear you. In a very different experience, I think that similar emotions have come up for me. I was born in the Philippines, came out to America when I was about 4. But still, I think at a certain point in my mind, it was like, I'm not American enough to be American, and I'm not Filipino enough to be a Filipino, because if I'm there, they kind of see me as an outsider, and then here in America, I feel like I'm an outsider as well. So I've gotten to this point of view of like, I'm just a global citizen, I'm here on Earth with everybody else. But even that, I'm sure there's a lot of people who get turned off by that. They're like, global citizen, you don't even know any other language, you haven't lived in any other place. But I hope to get to that point of being able to be in a different place, and for me to want to become a global citizen, or like really embody what that means. I think it would take a lot of traveling, and a lot of like seeing different cultures and being a part of them, which at 32, I'm hoping that could be a possibility. Yeah. It's just one of those things where like, damn, I wish I started sooner. Yeah. All right, Ashley, we made it to the final portion of the podcast, which is the closeout questions. But before we do that, since you do meditation, you might be familiar with mantras. And this next portion is called the 34th mantra. I am going to ask you to fill out a phrase, which is I am, I can, I will. So you treat them as fill in the blanks, like I am blank, I can blank, I will blank. Let me know when you're ready. I'm going to change the screen to the portion, and you could shoot from there.
Do you want me to like speak it out?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Let me know when you're ready, and then I gotta change the screen to the mantra screen. But
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm ready.
All right. Here we go. Whenever you are ready, feel free to speak it out. I am, I can, I will.
Okay. I am love. I can bring love into every aspect of my life. I will love myself.
For sure. That's all it took. And if you ever need a reminder, now you have this little audio clip of yourself in your own words, reminding you what you can do, what you will do, and who you are. And made it to the closeout questions. This next question is going to be from my previous guest. Shout out to Devin. Devin's question for you is, if you could share a meal with a community or set of people that you don't understand that well, who would you want to have a meal with? So in my mind, I feel like he's getting at maybe a community that you don't always see eye to eye, but you're kind of curious to get to know who they are and what their thought process are.
Yikes. I feel like people who I don't always see eye to eye with, without giving away my political views, I feel like I don't need to really sit down to understand them.
Okay, I got you.
I feel like I get the message, but someone that I want to understand, I guess like I would love to sit down with maybe like a famous like quantum physicist, like Neil deGrasse Tyson.
Okay, I got you. Well, can you give me a sample question of what's something you would try to ask him?
In his view, using quantum physics, what is the meaning of the universe?
I got you. I wonder what he would say. I wonder if he'd say it in that way. He has a certain way of talking that makes me feel like he's always teaching. So that'd be a great little lesson. And I'd be curious if Neil deGrasse Tyson, if you're listening, we got a question for you here. But yeah. And my second to last question for you is, what would you like to ask the next guest that comes on to 34 Questions?
What does love mean to them?
What does love mean to you? Sorry, just running it down. And I've been trying to get into the habit of answering this question. So, what does love mean to me? I think there's a lot to unpack there. But I think in its essence, love is that love is the thing that keeps you warm, you know? Like, I think even physically, when you're feeling cold, you think of the people that you love or things that you love, and it warms you inside. And it has, like, I don't know why or how it gives you that warm feeling, but you know, that's what I think love is in a short way, in a nutshell, that I can explain at the end of my podcast. But I think I'm gonna have to think of that more, and hopefully I'll have a better answer next time I have a guest that comes on. All right, Ashley, and my last question for you, the question that ties everything together: 100, 200, 300 years from now, your descendants are watching this video. What would you like to tell them?
I hope I did my part to make the world a better place.
Sure. I think, you know, now after all this, after this conversation, I think that you've done, you know, this is one piece of that part. And I hope that your descendants feel that energy from you, you know, whenever, wherever they listen to this. Any last things you'd like to add before we head out of here?
No, that was great. I love the flow of everything, and the questions really made me think. So thank you so much for having me.
No, thank you again for stopping by. I hope you're able to feel comfortable. I know for me, it's always nervous too when I meet people for the first time on the show. So just thank you for sharing your energy with me, being open to my questions, and participating in every little thing I threw at you. So thank you again, Ashley.
Appreciate it.
And thank you to the folks out there as well. If you are listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, or even tuning into the video version, even though there's no video of Ashley, it will be available there as well. Thank you for checking it out. Remember to reach out, reach forward. As always, much love, and we'll catch you guys next time on 34 Questions. Peace. And before you go, phase out from there.